It is a chilly afternoon in January 1975. As Paul Allen walks past this newsstand in Harvard Square, his eyes fall on the front page of the popular electronic magazine. It reads, "Altair, the world's first mini-computer kit." Now, Paul has this brilliant idea. With computers becoming more commercially available, he sees an opportunity in making computers more accessible and user-friendly. But he can't do this alone. He needs to persuade his childhood friend, Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates, on the other hand, is living a dream for most of us here, a Harvard student from a wealthy background. Now, how do you ask someone like Bill Gates to drop everything and join this uncertainty? So Paul carefully crafts his ask. He goes to Bill, gives him this magazine, and says, "Look, it is happening now without us." And those few words were very powerful, as they not only appealed to the passion of Bill, but also painted this beautiful picture of future that they both were missing out to be the part of. Now, we all know what happened next. Bill dropped out of Harvard and joined Paul in starting Microsoft, one of the most successful companies in the world. Now, Paul's story is an inspiration because it highlights the power of asking when executed in the right way. Let me tell you a personal story of mine. A few years ago, I was working on this high visibility, high impact program, and like most of us feel after delivering on such big programs, I am at this crossroad in my career life. I wanted to take my career to the next level, but for doing that, I needed to expand my skills. So luckily, I found this opportunity with another team, and I said, yes, this is my opportunity, let me try, but I didn't want to burn any bridges. So I wanted my manager to position me for that role. So as I was always told to, I decided to go and ask. All charged up, I went on this coffee and walk with my manager and started off talking about all the good stuff we had done, how the results we had achieved, and how well we landed the program, and yada, yada, yada. And it was at least 10 to 15 minutes into that conversation when I said, I'm now thinking, what next? And then I spoke about this other role and said, maybe that could be a potential next opportunity. Any guesses on what happened next? Yeah, no. He actually came back and briefed me on this another program within his portfolio and said, since I had done so well on my previous assignment, this fit well within my current skill sets. My current skill sets? Didn't I ask that I actually want to expand my skill sets? Well, I did ask, but wish I knew back then that it is just not about asking, but also preparing enough to hit the home run on the ask. So, as we all wish for our answers to be, or our asks to be answered in a snap, here is how SNAP framework can help us prepare, where SNAP stands for simplification, negotiation, awareness, pause and reflect. What is the first thing you observed when I was talking about my story? Why is she beating her own drums without coming to the point? Well, that's why it is important to start with S in SNAP for simplification. Now, think about preparing for your ask. You have to know what you want and why you want what you want. And then play it back to yourself. If it doesn't flow well, you're missing the point. And as you simplify, avoid sandwiching the ask. you need to keep the focus on the potential of the ask itself. Also, don't be less confident, go with the confidence. You do not use the words like maybe and could be. And most importantly, as Simon Sinek says, start with the why to avoid going in circles. You do not need to do something to ask for something. Asks can be aspirational as long as you know the role they play in your story. Now, every time you're asking, you're actually negotiating. And that brings us to N in SNAP for negotiation. Imagine asking your teen to clean up their room. I know, some of us are rolling our eyes here. Well, somehow this ask usually ends up into this emotional drama with a background music of doors banging, and in the end, nothing gets done. Well, in this case, though, you have an authority while you're asking. But then, there are some times when you're asking for a favor. And then, there are other times when you have done something and you're asking in return. There are these different relationships when you're asking. But knowing what you're asking, the relationships in this ask, and the levers you have is really important to effectively negotiate. Now, when you're negotiating, though, do not assume that the answer has to be a yes or a no. Sometimes think about asking your manager for a raise. You don't have to say, I want a raise. Instead, you can try to ask for what is the realistic expectation on the salary, how can I get there, and then ask, when can I get there? You just move the relationship from a giver and a taker to a mutual partnership. Also, do not let those emotions drive these conversations. No begging, yelling, or nagging. And most importantly, avoid associating your outcome of the conversation to your self-worth. Now, just as important it is to know how to ask, it is also important to know the surroundings around your ask, which brings us to A in SNAP for awareness. Has someone at work ever asked you for something and you're like, huh? Totally missing out the context because you're just picking up a coffee? Or imagine asking your child to do the chores when they just had a bad day at school. Or in fact, think about asking for a raise or promotion without giving importance to the fact that your company went through a series of layoffs just the previous month. Now, these may all sound outrageous, but they do happen. And then there are some subtle ones. Where I was having a career conversation with my manager. But where? While walking, where there were tons of distractions, people waving highs and smiling, and all along the way, we were just thinking about others more than our own conversation. So, as you think about what and why you want to ask, also think about when, where, and who to ask. Make sure you're not asking at the tail end of the meeting where you have a time crunch. Also, make sure to think about the ask, how it aligns with the bigger picture of the organization and whom you're asking, and then tie it back to your ask itself. And most importantly, avoid asking wrong people. Preparing your ask and planning according to the whom you're asking is not only going to avoid confusions for the others, but tons of frustrations for yourself. Now, you may not hit the home run the first time you try, and that's why it is important to pause and reflect. Has anyone here applied for a college? Well, I was rejected for a college. And when I reapplied for the college, I was asked to give an additional essay. What has changed since you last applied? That exercise of knowing what you fell short last time, what you did to improve, and why you deserve this opportunity even more now is one of the best exercises I have gone through. Now, in the process of reflection, though, it can be emotional for many of us here. So, avoid over-criticism. Make sure you think about what you're asking, but also let the emotions only tell you the opportunity that you missed, and let your logical mind take over the driving seat to help you plan next. Also, avoid assuming that it was your last chance. Most of the times, you can build on your previous ask, and do not give up. You may feel that it was the end, but it was not the end. And so, the issue is not always with asking, but how well you were prepared before asking. So, going back to my story, I was asking my manager to expand my skills. Now, it was not the end. In fact, as the king of Bollywood cinema, Shah Rukh Khan says in his movie, there is more to the story, my friend. So here is what happened after my manager came with his new proposal. I stepped back and asked for some time to think. I started with P, to pause and reflect. I wanted this opportunity really bad. So for me, I went to this Zen mode, started writing down what really went well and where I had opportunity to improve. And then I realized, oh, I actually can build on my previous conversation. So I went back to simplification. This time, I didn't want to give him another sandwich. So I decided to simplify my ask. I went to him and said, look, this opportunity that you're giving is great, but here is my career plans, and here is how the new opportunity can fit my career plans. And then I actually expanded on by saying, can you please connect me with the hiring manager so that I can get what I want? Now, it was just trying to be a little clear with him. And then I also had to negotiate with him. But yes, I was prepared this time. And also, I was very aware of his own priorities. In the end, it actually went really well. I agreed to sign up and deliver on his program by kicking it off only, but in return, he not only landed me on that role, but also gave me this opportunity to align with him and get coached by him so that I could take my career to the next level. So next time, when you have an ask, remember to snap. Thank you.